The Necronomicon, bound in nameless hide, inked in blood that refuses to fade, the Necronomicon is no ordinary grimoire. Written by the mad poet Abdul al-Azred, it carries within it more than knowledge. It carries infection. Those who study its pages don't merely learn, they unravel. Rituals whisper of gates that should never open, of gods who wait in endless sleep, of geometries that split the mind. The book isn't a record, it's a doorway, and every word is a hinge creaking wider. Universities hide copies in restricted vaults, guarded like nuclear secrets. But the danger is subtler. One glance, one translated fragment, and obsession blooms. Scholars grow pale, voices cracking as they read aloud phrases that feel less like language and more like hunger. Entire cults are born from its passages, each chanting in languages they were never taught. The horror of the Necronomicon lies not in monsters clawing from its pages, but in what it does to the reader. It convinces you that madness is truth, that reality is a thin veil, and beyond it lies only chaos, waiting for you to stare long enough to fall through. The Shining Trapezohedron, locked in a church tower, sealed in a box that priests dare not touch, lies the Shining Trapezohedron, a crystal, black, faceted, glimmering with impossible angles. At first glance it seems inert, but stare too long and the world buckles. The mind sees vast voids beyond our plane, alien vistas stretching into infinite night, and worse, it sees you back. This artifact is no portal. It is a beacon. Its purpose is to call across gulfs of space and time to summon something that lurks in the dark between stars. Robert Blake, the doomed artist who uncovered it, learned this too late. The moment he gazed too deep, the haunter of the dark stirred. Windows shattered, shadows lengthened, and his body was found staring, eyes wide as though the void itself had burned its image into his skull. What makes the trapezohedron so terrifying isn't that it kills. It waits. It tempts the curious to peer inside, and by looking, they light the signal. To hold it is to become a lighthouse, and every sailor adrift in cosmic darkness now knows where you are. The Ponape Figurine, barely the size of a clenched fist, the Ponape Figurine feels heavier than stone has any right to be. Its surface is slick, almost wet, and the figure it depicts is an insult to anatomy. Limbs too many, eyes too few, a god that was never meant to be seen by land dwellers. Found among the ruins of lost Pacific civilizations, the figurine does not sit idle. It whispers. Those who keep it close are plagued with visions of submerged kingdoms, vast colonnades swaying in abyssal currents, and presences that blot out the ocean floor. They wake with lungs aching as though they'd been drowning in their sleep. Barnacle-like ridges creep across their skin. Salt crystallizes in their hair. The figurine's true terror lies not in what it reveals, but in its persistence. Smash it, bury it, sink it, the idol always returns, resurfacing in markets, dig sites, shipwrecks. It does not want worship. It wants proximity. Every new hand it touches is another thread cast into humanity, tethering us to something slumbering far below. And when the tide finally turns, the figurine will not be a relic. It will be a herald. The yellow sign. It is not metal, nor stone, nor any substance you can hold. The yellow sign is a shape, a symbol, a crooked, shifting glyph tied to Carcosa and the king in yellow. To glimpse it is to invite corruption. No explanation follows, it simply brands itself into your mind, and from that moment, your perception is no longer your own. The symbol appears in dreams first, scratched into walls, etched into the sky, traced in blood upon a mirror's surface. Those who see it feel drawn to others who share its mark, as if the sign itself weaves them into a gathering. Cults rise not through recruitment, but through infection. You don't join them, you wake up already belonging. Unlike other artifacts, the yellow sign doesn't demand rituals or sacrifice. It does not speak. It simply waits, seeding madness through recognition. The true terror is that it cannot be forgotten. Attempt to sketch it, and your hand shakes, compelled. Attempt to describe it, and your words falter, collapsing into fever. It is a symbol without origin, a stain that spreads across thought itself, and once you recognize its shape, the king in yellow is already watching. The silver key. At first it resembles nothing more than an ornate piece of metal, its teeth oddly intricate, its surface carved with faintly glowing sigils. Yet the silver key does not open doors of wood or iron. It turns locks far stranger, thresholds between dreams, realities, and even timelines themselves. In Lovecraft's tales, Randolph Carter becomes obsessed with the key. Using it, he slips between the waking world and the dreamlands, exploring alien landscapes of impossible beauty and unspeakable dread. But the key is no gift. Each use unmoors the traveler further from humanity until they lose sight of where or what they are. The silver key terrifies not because it brings monsters, but because it tempts with escape. Who hasn't longed for another reality, a better one, where death doesn't loom so close? But the cost of turning the key is steep. Each passage strips away certainty, leaving the bearer unsure if they are still flesh, or memory, or dream. It is an artifact of thresholds, one that proves the walls of reality are fragile, and once you've unlocked them, they never shut quite the same way again. The Pnakotic Manuscripts, older than civilization, perhaps older than humanity itself, the Pnakotic Manuscripts are said to have been written by beings predating man. Found in fragments across forgotten temples and buried libraries, their language twists the mind to even attempt translation. The manuscripts describe not legends but chronicles, accounts of frozen cities in Antarctica, maps of constellations that shift, warnings of gods that slumber beneath black seas. They do not read like prophecy. They read like records, as though scribes older than Earth carved them for those foolish enough to follow. Scholars who attempt to decipher the manuscripts report visions, cyclopean ruins stretching beyond the poles, voices echoing in caverns where the sun has never reached. The texts do not warn so much as they reveal, peeling back the illusion of human history and showing that our species arrived late to a stage already haunted. What makes the manuscripts unbearable is not what they describe, it's what they imply, that our lives are footnotes in a story written long before us, that our world is less a home than a ruin squatted in by desperate animals. To read them is to learn that history isn't ours. It never was. The Idol of Cthulhu. The Idol of Cthulhu is not merely carved stone. It is an intrusion, a fragment of something that should remain submerged. Squat, winged, and crowned with a writhing knot of tentacles, the idol radiates a weight beyond matter. To look upon it is to feel the pressure of deep oceans pressing down on your skull, as though you were already sinking. Cults revere it with blood and chants, treating the idol as a conduit. Sailors who stumble upon it in forgotten harbors find themselves muttering words they do not know, humming hymns from drowned throats. Collectors grow pale, their nights filled with cities collapsing under tides and skies cracking open. The stone does not simply depict, it resonates, vibrating faintly as if it remembers. Its terror lies in certainty. Unlike cryptic manuscripts or elusive symbols, the idol is blunt proof that Cthulhu is not myth, but fact. Every whispered prayer strengthens the bond. Every dream shared pulls the sleeper closer. The idol doesn't ask for faith, it is faith, carved and solid. And when the stars crawl into alignment, the stone will cease to be a statue. It will be a key, unlocking something vast and rising. The Book of Eibon, written in the twilight of Hyperborea, the Book of Eibon is often called a rival to the Necronomicon. But while Alhazred's tome drips with madness, Eibon's work carries the chill of ritual precision. Its pages catalog spells, summonings, and journeys into dimensions that overlap our own like shadows. To open it is to find not warning, but instruction. A manual for meddling in forces no mortal should ever command. Legends say Eibon himself consorted with alien gods, bartering fragments of humanity for scraps of cosmic truth. The book retains this corruption. Its pages shift, diagrams redrawing themselves when the reader blinks. The ink shimmers as though alive, and chants once muttered in jest echo, back in tones not quite human. Where the Necronomicon seduces with forbidden knowledge, the Book of Eibon entraps with power. It promises the reader dominion, spells to rend reality, invocations to open voids. But every working draws attention. Those who use the book too freely are said to vanish, snatched not by demons but by the very gods they dared invoke. To hold the Book of Eibon is to clutch a scalpel offered to a child, sharp, dangerous, and certain to spill more blood than it saves. The Eltdown Shards. At first glance, the Eltdown Shards look like little more than weathered pottery, fractured discs of clay, scratched with crude markings. But the longer one stares, the less crude those lines appear. The scratches rearrange themselves, not with movement, but with memory, coaxing the mind to see patterns never learned. They whisper in a language you didn't know you remembered. The shards do not tell myths. They testify. They speak of races that ruled before men, of galaxies collapsing in silence, of civilizations smothered by cold inevitability. Each fragment is a record of extinction, pressed into clay not to warn, but to remind. This cycle has happened countless times before. Humanity is no exception. Those who study them rarely survive the revelation. Some gouge their eyes to banish the shifting lines. Others become evangelists, preaching inevitability like a gospel of despair. The shards do not curse. They need no curse. They are fossils of knowledge so ancient and undeniable that sanity erodes before it. Hold one long enough and you understand the truth. Humanity is not climbing toward permanence. We are only another shard, waiting to crack and scatter across the dust. The Cryptical Scrolls of Mnar. The Cryptical Scrolls of Mnar are relics of contradiction, written on parchment older than empires, yet supple as fresh skin. No one agrees who created them. Priests of forgotten desert kingdoms, or emissaries of gods who walked before history. What is certain is that the scrolls breathe unease. Their ink gleams faintly in darkness as if still wet. The texts speak of cities erased by shifting sands, rivers of black ichor flowing beneath mountains that groan in their sleep, and invocations meant to pierce the veil. Unlike most relics, the scrolls are not passive records. To read them aloud is to conjure echoes, and sometimes the echoes answer. Scholars report hearing voices layered over their own, chanting in unison until their throats bled. The terror of the scrolls is their immediacy. They do not suggest. They compel. The letters twist as if they want to be spoken, dragging the reader forward syllable by syllable. Refuse, and the script sears itself into your mind, humming in the back of your skull. The scrolls remind us of our place, temporary, brittle, unworthy. Every word thins the curtain, until what waits beyond does not need summoning. It comes of its own accord.
Subscribe for more interesting stuff. Tell us your experience in the comments.